Flash report.
All right, shout out to the Tuff Tiger Talk family members, man. Appreciate y'all for being in the building. What another un-tiger-like affair, man. Tigers go down again. They were just whipped. So big ups to you guys. What can I tell you on this one? Big Q. Tough Tiger Talk post game recap, man. Big ups to you guys. Appreciate y'all being in the stream. This was awful, man. This was another awful game. And sheesh, we thinking LSU in Death Valley. Night game, usually pretty successful. The Crimson Tide came into Death Valley and just turned it into a place where they just buried the Tigers. They turned Death Valley, a place where usually the opponent's dreams comes to die, and they took LSU and buried them, turned it into a cemetery. 42-13, just absolute domination of the Tigers. In this game, Jalen Milrose just did everything. You know, he did just enough to pass the ball. He ran all over him, and the Tigers had no answer. They couldn't put up any offense. They finally got a garbage time touchdown on the back end of the game, and they just fall apart. And what's really interesting, family, about this is the fact that they had the bye week to prepare for Alabama, and this is the best that they can do. I mean, wow. Anyway, Nussmeier just hit the Gus bus, the Nuss bus, or whatever you want to call it. It has flat tires. I mean, he has just bottomed out the last couple of games. It's just been absolutely awful. So anyway, let's recap this hideous game. I mean, what a piece of work this one was here. And I know Coach Kelly, I know he probably has a few things he wants to say about this one, but man, I don't know what you can say about this one. This was pretty awful, man. This was pretty bad. And we'll see what's happening. But anyway, let's hit the team statistics in this one, fam. Pretty bad. All right, anyway, the first third down situation, LSU was 6 of 14. Alabama 10 of 13 on third downs. The total yards 420 to 343 advantage Alabama. The total passing attack was for LSU 239 versus 108, but really nothing much shaking. 2 interceptions by Nussmeier today. The rushing attack, LSU had 104 off of 24 carries. Alabama literally tripled that. They had over 300 yards rushing, 185 of which came from Jalen Milroe with 4 rushing touchdowns just on the ground. And once again, LSU's defense continues to show they have no ability to stop the scrambling quarterback. I mean, and then some of the plays with Jalen Milroe, you knew he was going to get the ball. The defensive alignment was totally incorrect. The missed tackling, the safety, Gilbert is awful. Major Burns, boy, his name is the game. Wow. That's definitely the safety position. It's something we definitely got to look at for next season, and improving the safety position. And the interior defensive line continues to need work there. LSU's much vaunted, talked about offensive line really just was pushed over in this game. And it was a shame that a lot of the LSU faithful have to watch what happened, because Alabama just smacked the piss out of them. They just walked on them. Wasn't even close. Anyway, 311 rushing yards by Alabama today on 48 attempts. That was a 6.5 average. 104 yards rushing for LSU, 24 attempts for 4.3. LSU had 7 penalties for 65 yards. Alabama 7 for 74. LSU had 3 turnovers, 1 fumble. by Nussmeier and 2 interceptions by Nussmeier. 33-55 on the time of possession versus 26-05 by LSU. And it was just horrible. To be honest with you, it was simply horrible. And of course, the individual statistics. Nussmeier finished 27 of 42 for 239, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a fumble. Like I said, Caden Durham, 8 carries for 63 yards, averaged 8 yards per carry. Xavier Thomas, 2 for 18, and nothing really else outside of that was going on for him. Kyron Lacey, 5 catches for 79 yards, got the late touchdown. Mason Taylor, 4 for 50. Josh Williams, 6 for 38. Aaron Anderson, 3 for 27. CJ Daniels, 3 for 26. Really nothing else going on. So, man, this was just hard to look at. And of course, you look at the opposite side. Jalen Milroe, 12 of 18 for a buck 09 throwing the ball, but he towed them up on the rushing attack. 12 scrambles for 185 yards. He averaged over 15 yards per run. He had 4 rushing touchdowns on the ground. He basically beat them single-handed. 13 scrambles by Jam Miller for 38 yards. Richard Young had 6 for 27 in the score. Justin Haynes had 8 for 23 in the score. But if you remove Jalen Milroe, maybe they got a chance. If you take his 4 touchdowns off the board, maybe they have the chance. But then again, they still would have lost if you took his 4 off the board, because they would have beat LSU 14-13. So regardless, they were going to lose this one, man, if you look at it. And of course, like I said, they were just defensively, offensively, they didn't outpass LSU. They didn't really need to. They just ran all over them and just mushed them on out of the place. So Alabama improves to 7-2 on the season. They're 4-2 in conference play. LSU drops to 6-3 and 3-2 in conference play. So a lot of talk about what LSU was going to do this week, what they were going to do, how they were going to handle the business, and it really didn't equate to anything. LSU just didn't get it done. They just didn't make it happen. So in the end, what could be said, man, except for another laughable attempt by LSU to do anything positive in this game. So I don't know what's the game plan here, going forward. But anyway, their next matchup will be against the Florida Gators. The Gators are 4-5. They have to travel to Florida to meet Billy Napier's team. So we'll see what happens there. But that's the next matchup for them. And of course, Florida, is on a 2-game losing streak. They got destroyed by number 5 Texas 49-17 today. So that next matchup will be a 2:30 p.m. game next Saturday on ABC. So it'll be LSU is going to see if they can get something done there against Alabama. 3 games remaining in the season for the Fighting Tigers. Not much fight in them today, fam. Not much fight in these Tigers at all today. And best I can tell you was this was over early. It wasn't competitive. The defense couldn't stop the run, couldn't stop the scrambling quarterback. Actually, it was the scrambling quarterback that was really cutting them up. Milroe just ran all over him. He made the throws. They converted on 3rd downs. That was the biggest thing. When the defense was able to kind of stopped Alabama in situations where they needed to convert on a 3rd down, or they were long here or there, and they just continually let them get the 3rd down attempt to keep the ball marching. And of course, there were times where LSU needed to score. They didn't score, and ultimately that ended up hurting them in the end. It just ended up kicking the piss out of them. And now they're facing a situation where, with 3 games remaining, they have 3 losses on the season. And usually when you have 3 losses on the season, fam, you know what that means. That pretty much means that, you're not going to do anything. You possibly will get a bowl type situation, but outside of that, I'm not anticipating LSU doing anything. Like I said, they started off promising, but when games started mounting up, and we talked about this the last time around, when they had an opportunity to take on over the next 3 games, we talked about the Texas A&M matchup. them beating Arkansas, them having a nice little run when they were able to knock off South Carolina. They, Ole Miss when they beat them by 3, they were able to take down Arkansas. We're feeling pretty good. The loss at Texas A&M was really not good. Then they had a week to prepare for Alabama, and this family is, and I would dare say this the worst was the worst loss of the season. This was a blowout. I mean, you could talk about the USC game starting off. They only lost that by 7. The Texas A&M game was also a 2 touchdown performance where they just got they got manhandled there. But coming back to your stadium, having a bye week and time to prepare, and you lose this 42-13 in your own building. Alabama comes in here and just runs you out. That's the worst loss of the season. And now they have 3 games remaining. Got to go to Florida, and then they come home against Vanderbilt and Oklahoma to end the regular season. So it's just terrible, man. Very terrible. All right, shout out to you guys. Damien says Brian Keller will be back again with this mediocre football. Can't even beat Bama without Saban. It is worse. Well, the thing is, at this game, they had a lot of really top recruits. Underwood and other some of the top recruits were in city uh, to watch the game, and I really was looking at the fact that realistically, when we started the season off, I know Coach Kelly is a pretty decent coach, but this team, like with Nussmeier there, I kind of had my doubts coming into the season, and they had some respected wins. Now all they can do now is finish strong, right? They're 6-3. All they can do is finish strong. Win out the next 3, and then whatever bowl game they get, try to get another 10-win game. But LSU next year, with all of these top notch blue chip prospects coming to team, that's when you expect the future of LSU. That's when it really starts to kind of change with this really good recruiting class for next year. That's when it really starts to look like something. But this year, I kind of had an inkling, even though they had some pretty impressive wins. The win over Ole Miss was impressive. The South Carolina win was impressive. Them doing that, even them being able to take care of business against Arkansas, which is it's all right. Both the Texas A&M and Alabama matchups in succession, those were the big games that if you were serious about competing or doing something at a large level, beating Texas A&M and Alabama would definitely make people take notice of what you were trying to do, and getting hammered, literally getting the brakes beat off for you in your building to Alabama, that won't really endear you to anybody. So 3 games left in the season. Florida away, Vanderbilt and Oklahoma at home. LSU has to finish out strong, man. So we'll see how it all looks at the end of the day, man. But yeah, it was nothing impressive. Yeah, you're right. People were leaving at halftime, and they had the damn right to, man. This was the worst loss of the season for the Tigers. I don't know what Coach Kelly, what his answer gonna be to that, but this was a horrible loss, very horrible loss. But what can I tell y'all, man? As we move forward, man, 2 games, 3 games remaining. We'll see what happens moving forward. So, yes, 42-13, and that's pretty much what it is, how it is. I don't know. It's just more of the same for LSU, man, unfortunately. So I thought I was gonna have something for Coach Kelly tuned up, but not right. He's not coming to the podium. But all I can say, fam, is listen, man. Next week we got a 2:30 kickoff game against Florida, going to Florida. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They just got the brakes beat off of them. Can LSU stop the slide against Florida? You would hope so, and then finish out strong is the best thing we can do here, right? So anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna get out on this. Listen, you guys have a good rest of your night, man. If you can. A lot of it's really tough for Louisiana's pro sport. I mean, for Louisiana sports in general, whether it's pro or college right now. Outside of Tulane, man, I think Tulane actually won. They're actually doing some stuff. Maybe we need to start giving Tulane more love here, man, because Tulane I think they won today against Temple. I'm gonna have to check and make sure. But yes, well, let me give you guys the scores on so far on what happened today in the top 25. I mean, what's happening. But anyway, Utah right now they're leading BYU 14-10 with 5:31 in the second. Washington State is up on Utah State 14-7. Oklahoma, they lost to Missouri today 30-23. Missouri is now 7-2. They're ranked 24th. Virginia took care of business against Pitt 24-19. Maryland blowed out by Oregon 39-18. Oregon is number one in the nation. They're now 10-0 and 7-0 in the Big Ten. And Dylan Gabriel, man, some people got to pay attention to that quarterback. Dylan Gabriel became the FBS all-time TD leader with passes. So he did some wonderful stuff. Ohio State blew out Purdue there pretty bad, 45-0. A real shocker. Ole Miss defeated Georgia. They beat the Bulldogs 28-10. Jackson Dart did his thing today. He was passing and throwing the ball, almost 200 yards in the score, and he scrambled 8 times for 50 yards to help Ole Miss beat Georgia. That was a big win by Lane Kiffin. Also another upset, Georgia Tech. This probably was the upset of the weekend. Georgia Tech beat Miami 28-23. That was big. Miami's the 4th ranked team in the nation, and Georgia Tech was able to beat a major upset there. Florida, like I said, they got destroyed by Texas, who's ranked number 5 in the nation, 49-17. Penn State beat Washington 35-6. Tennessee 33-14 over Mississippi State. Indiana beat Michigan 20-15. That's Indiana improves to 10-0. So that's pretty good for Indiana. Doing a hell of a job. Rourke, the quarterback, had 2 touchdowns, 206 throwing through the air. Notre Dame destroyed a very bad Florida State team badly, 52-3 as well. Boise State beat Nevada 28-21. 45-36, an upset right there by Kansas. The Jayhawks beat Iowa State 45-36, knocking them off right there. Colorado, Coach Prime's club took care of business against Texas Tech 41-27. Clemson 24-14 over Virginia Tech, and Army beat North Texas 14-3. So, that's some of the scores for tonight's action, man. And like I said, man, we just doing what we do here, trying to make it work. And anyway, fam, let's get ready to take it to. Let's hear what Coach Kelly had to say, fam, about what happened. Here's Coach Kelly. Here we go.
Thought about this game, what they needed to do physically, mentally, all the things that we talk about. I was excited about their preparation. They were ready to play. I take ownership in not getting our guys in the right position tonight, and we just did not make the best of the opportunities that we had, and then certainly a lot of things didn't go the right way tonight with not being able to get off the field on 3rd down, turning the ball over on offense, and it just seemed there were at times some key things in the game that didn't go our way. And so one of those nights where you look at it and its totality, and look, take nothing away from Alabama. They played very well tonight as well. But we're dealing with a second loss now in the SEC, and we're on the uphill, certainly. But we've got to, as coaches, we've got to put our guys in a better position to succeed. That's the challenge that I have. I own that, and we've got to play cleaner football, and we've got to get off the field. Certainly, those are the 2 big takeaways for me in terms of the game itself. And then certainly, some of the, untimely things that happened during the game that were critical, that really, put us back relative to, the game itself, whether they were untimely penalties or, third down conversions. They all impacted the game and the eventual outcome. So with that, we'll open up the questions.
Like you spent a lot of the second half talking to Blake, just talking to him on the sideline, trying to figure some things out, I guess. Is that what you were doing? Were you able to come up with any answers?
Yeah, again, look, if you're watching the game, you're like, what did these guys do for 2 weeks? Like, we have a scheme to stop the quarterback. We did not get that done. So I take responsibility for it. Blake is not going to hide from the responsibility, but we also have to put our players in the right position to take advantage of what they're capable of doing. So we own it together, and we've got to get it fixed, certainly, because it's been a couple of weeks now, in 2 games. So I respect the inquiries and the questions, because we now go into these last 3 games with the need to win all 3 of these games and play better football in the month of November.
Coach, when you're sort of talking about trying to find the right way to put the guys in the right spot to make plays, are you talking about just trying to find the right schematic fit for these guys, the right schematic answers? Yeah, so it's a little bit about, we're not reinventing the wheel when it comes to defending the quarterback. There's only a couple of ways to defend him, and so we have to be able to get our players that we're not trading any of them. There's no waiver wire. We're not, bringing anybody up from, the demo squad. We've got to come up with the right answers on what works best for the guys that we have. And it hasn't worked very well these last couple of games. So we got to go back and start all over again and look at what's the best way to defend in certain situations with the players that we currently have, because they want to do it. They were ready. They were locked in. They were focused. They had the right mindset coming into this game.
Coach, how do you approach the last 3 weeks of the season knowing that the college football playoff is likely out of the question?
Yeah, I think everybody asked the same question. We really, look, they're disappointed. We're disappointed in the way we performed. We're not going, these guys are not like, hey, we're out of the playoffs. That's not what they're disappointed, and I'm disappointed that we didn't live up to the standards of LSU football. That affects us more than the damn playoffs. We're disappointed. When you put on the jersey for LSU, there's a standard of football that those 3 letters on your jersey, it's a prerequisite. And we didn't live up to that. That's the disappointment.
Brian, you mentioned got to get it fixed. In the coming days, weeks, months, how do you address the deficiencies that you see in this program? How do you go about fixing it?
Well, deficiency is a relative term, right? I mean, we just beat, we beat Ole Miss here in a great game that beat Georgia, right? I mean, we went on the road and beat, a really good South Carolina team, that had a great victory, against A&M. So playing in the SEC is a dogfight. We did not play up to our standards tonight. So, fixing is a relative term, right? We have to do some hard thinking relative to how do we put our kids in a better position to succeed. And then, quite frankly, take care of the football. We've got 6 turnovers in the last 2 games. If I told you you're going to turn over the ball 6 times against A&M and Alabama, how do you feel about that? I'd say not very good. As well as
we got to get off the field, and stop the running quarterback. So those, when you break it down, are really the big things that we'll be looking at.
In the back. After the USC game, you had referenced sort of a feeling on the sideline with the players that maybe they felt like the game had been won before it was over. Was there a point tonight where you felt the opposite might have been true, that they felt like they were out of it before the game was over?
No. I mean, those guys kept fighting, kept playing. You saw we scored with 11 seconds to go. I think that's probably a pretty good indication. They blitzed 7 against us with 22 seconds to go. They didn't quit. We didn't quit. We kept playing. We didn't look at the scoreboard. They didn't obviously look at the scoreboard. They didn't want us to score. And that's why I got knocked down. We got a personal foul penalty with about a minute to go in the game. Those two teams still playing right to the very end.
Offhand, from just from your view, particularly early in the game, what was the biggest problem on third down?
I mean, I'd have to go back and look at. Third down is about, first of all, staying out of third down and long. As you know, the national percentages of success on third down are about 40%. So stay out of third and long. I mean, generally speaking, some of it is about, decision making. Some of it about blitz protection. Some of it is a little bit all of that. We've been really good in third down situations traditionally during the year. I think, again, the turnover really put us back. The face mask penalty was a momentum killer for us in the game. So, I could sit here and kind of, the bottom line is we didn't play to the standard of LSU football. That's on me. I've got to make sure that we put our players in better positions to succeed, and that's the work I'll do. Third down is, and I'm not poo-pooing the question, but third down is something that I think we can work through and continue to get better at.
Right over here. With the red zone offense, it's been a couple weeks now. It's just been tough to kind of convert touchdowns. Just what are you seeing in that area, and just how do you go about, I guess, trying to get it on the right course of the last 3 weeks?
Red zone is about, at the end of the day, having a great running game where you just chew people up in the running game, or you've got a veteran quarterback that is smart, savvy, experienced, and picks. And I've had both. Garrett's getting there. He's a first-year starter. He's learning the ropes. We've been just okay running the ball, and that's why we have our fits and starts in the short field areas.
Can you just talk a little bit more about the turnovers and how they're kind of self-destructing, when you've got things going, interception in the end zone and some of those things?
Well, the first turnover was mechanical in the sense that, we had the ball in one hand. Quarterbacks, when they get flushed out of the pocket, and Garrett will tell you this, you should have had a second hand on the football. However, we had a young guy in there who missed the protection. He got flushed. And hence, we can sit here again and talk about all the particulars. The bottom line is we turn the football over. We got to go back and we got to work on that. And we got to get 2 hands on the football. Those are fundamentals. That's on me. That's on coaching. We got to coach better and make sure that gets done. The second one was bracket coverage. And unfortunately, I have seen that interception way too many times in my career. It is a free linebacker that can just drop, and you have to play with touch and throw to the back line, and we just didn't do it there. So I feel like I'm standing here trying to make excuses, and I don't want to do that. We just got to coach better in those situations.
You keep mentioning playing up to the LSU standard. Yeah. Can you put your finger on why that just didn't happen tonight?
Well, I mean, I think I've kind of talked about a little bit of it, right? The inability to get off the field on third down was, tactical in some instances, not being leveraged on the football the right way. Again, it wasn't for lack of effort. It wasn't for lack of want to. We have to continue to work with the guys that we have out there. We got a lot of young players out there. And whether it's freshman running backs or a freshman playing the nickel position or a first-year starter here or there, we just can't make excuses, and we just got to keep working with them and keep coaching them. They were ready to play, but we've got some inexperience that we have to keep working with, and we got to put them in better position to succeed, and that's on me.
Got time for 2 more, Corey and then Bryce.
Ryan over here. 2 quick ones, if I may. It seems like you guys have been playing really clean football the last few weeks. Do you have an explanation of kind of why the penalties cropped up in tonight's game? And
so we had 2 holding penalties, right? I think we all would agree that holding penalties almost become what did I see or what I did not see that play. The face mask penalty, was it a face mask? I don't know. Okay, so you were there, you saw it, you were on the field. Did you get the instant replay? Replay, ripped his head off? No.
It was by rule. It was
By rule, he grabbed his face mask and jerked his helmet inside out.
He didn't jerk it, but he did grab it.
He grabbed it. Okay, good. Glad we get that confirmation. And then,
I'm sure he'll be fine back on solid foods.
yeah. Anyway, look, I think the only one that I was a little upset with was maybe the late push with Swinson, but it's like anything else, right? The other guy was giving him the business, and he was the last one to get caught. Other than that, we didn't have a lot of pre-snap penalties. We didn't have a lot of PIs or holdings. It didn't seem sloppy to me. We might have had a frustration penalty late in the game. That's kind of how I saw it, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't leave this game going, man, we got to clean up these penalties. I leave this game going, we got to put our kids in a better position to succeed. That's on me, our coaches. We got to coach them better and put them, because that's who we got. And there's some inexperienced players out there that are going to continue to play for us, and we've got to put them in a position to succeed.
And then real quick, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, there was some debris thrown on the field tonight. Just, what would you say?
Look, if I was in the stands, I wouldn't be happy. I'm not advocating that you throw anything on the field, but I think it's like any other venue. I think you should use good judgment, but I wouldn't be happy if I was watching us play either. I wasn't pleased with the way I coached or played either.
Right here, Coach. We've seen at times your teams be able to kind of pull back on that rope when things start to snowball. The South Carolina game being an example. How fine is that line? Really being able to.
Well, you saw it. We're back in the ball game if we score on the 1 yard line or the 3 yard line. That's the margin, right? We drive it all the way down to the goal line. We're poised to make this a 1-score game, and you got a ball game. We can't overcome the myriad of things that didn't go the right way tonight. And that's just the reality of it, right? And a lot of that falls on my shoulders, that I've got to do a better job. And then our players have got to learn from, these situations that we can't put ourselves in them, or we can't overcome it. And unfortunately, they were untimely. And that was a really good football team. And if you keep doing that, and I've said this to our team, you're living on borrowed time when you keep putting yourself in those tough positions. And tonight, the dam broke. When we kept putting ourselves in those tough positions, the dam finally broke. Thank you.
All right. That's Coach Kelly's post-game press conference. his thoughts on the matchup. It's just what it boils down to basically is that LSU is just, they're not a contending team. Like you had an opportunity, like against Texas A&M, you had an opportunity, a real good opportunity after a bye week to prepare for Alabama, and you come out and get eviscerated and annihilated in your own building, 42-13. It's not a good look, so 3 games remaining. Next matchup is on screen against Florida. Florida's on a 2-game losing streak. They just got beat by Texas today. So they're reeling. They're 4-5, 2-4 in conference. LSU could stop that 2-game slide by defeating the Florida Gators, and the best thing they can do from this point forward is just to finish strong, like to win the remaining games. I looked up Tulane. Tulane is 8-2. I want to say they're 8-2. They won a bunch of games. They got 2 games remaining as well. They're playing really good. I think Navy. They got Navy up next, followed by Memphis. They got Navy and Memphis to close out the regular season. And they could be finishing strong. Tulane looking good. LSU, on the other hand, they're kind of been reeling over the last couple of games, and it's very concerning. Worst loss of the season against Alabama at home, not good. But medicine game for Florida coming up. It'll be a 2:30 kickoff time next Saturday in Florida. And this is it is what it is at this point, right? All right. So anyway, with that being said, we're going to get out on that. Listen, I'd like to thank all you guys for tuning in this episode of the show. Man, it wasn't a good effort today by LSU. Crazy stuff going on. LSU loses Saturday. The Pelicans are on a 3-4 game slide. I want to say Zion has just been announced as he's out indefinitely with a left hamstring strain, or a left hamstring strain. So he's out indefinitely. So, and then the next 5 to 8 games are against some really tough teams. So before long, it's going to be looking pretty rough for the Pelicans. But they do get Trey Murphy back. They lose Zion for a while, but they're just banged up. Of course, we know the Saints are on a 7-game slide. They got Atlanta on at noon kickoff time tomorrow. It's just a tough time to be a sports person in Louisiana, let me tell you. And Tulane is making it good, so they kind of trying to help out. They're doing a good job. All right, so anyway, with that being said, we're going to slide on out of here. Listen, I appreciate you guys for being a part of our game day coverage. We'll return later on in the week, man, with more news, information on LSU. And we'll see if they can rebound against Florida. So with that being said, I'm out. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank y'all for listening, and I'm holler at you on the next time. Peace.
Subscribe to the Tough Tiger Talk channel and stay up to date for all things